Thanks so much for tuning in to Mom Boss Chronicles. My name is Jen.
This is Sue.
And this is Danielle.
We are three moms that work together in real estate and are good friends, and here to talk to you about fun topics, the good, the bad, the ugly of mom struggles, real estate, and other fun stuff. So make sure to subscribe to listen to more.
Welcome back, everyone. We have two special guests today, my sister Holly Fallon and Kelly Matthews. They are both birth doulas, and Kelly also does plant-based meal prep for postpartum moms. Holly also does massage therapy. I'm looking at my notes. I should know exactly what she does, but she has advanced training in prenatal and postpartum massage. She's also a personal trainer specializing in women's health, which is very cool. So this is just a fun topic we wanted to talk about. Obviously some people use doulas, but I think it's a missed space that a lot of people could learn about and maybe benefit from. So if you guys would kind of jump right in, if you want to tell us how what you do exactly, how you got into it, and
Yeah. I think you're right on target with the whole missed space comment. I feel like everybody should have a doula available to them if that's something that they want. It's just a constant source of support. So a lot of, our clients will hire us and their husbands will kind of be like, I don't even know what a doula was. I don't know why we need this. Right. There's no reason. But
what you want to tell us exactly what
I think I'm not
Yeah.
as educated on what exactly doulas do, and I had a thought in my head, and we were talking yesterday, and I was like, my
doulas are just for labor, but I don't know if that's right or wrong. So
of course
we support.
We support in person in labor, and that is a big chunk of what we do. But everybody kind of works it differently, and people hire us at different times. So I always love when people hire early on in pregnancy, because then they just have somebody to kind of lean into the entire time. So if you're 12 weeks and you hire us, you can, ask us questions, ask where we would suggest they go for chiropractors or for fitness, for working out.
And we build a relationship with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, as their body changes, you can help guide them.
And, I think it's important to establish a personal relationship, as Holly said, because they don't want to feel like we're a stranger walking into the birth room, and we don't want to feel that way either. We want them to see our face and feel calm and ready for us to join them. So support them throughout their pregnancy. Like I said, offering up referrals, suggestions. People just to vent to, I'm feeling this way, and I know you experience this and you deal with your clients all the time. I just need to talk about this, and we're there for that. And then as far as when labor kicks in, we support them on the phone in early labor, giving them suggestions, different positions, that sort of thing, and just constantly help navigate that early portion, especially for first-time parents. It can be a scary thing, and we don't want them rushing right to the hospital. And then once they're in the hospital, we're with them. Once we join them, we're there the entire time through the whole labor. Sometimes it's 4 hours. 2 weeks ago, I was with somebody for 24 hours. So it's not always that long, but it just happened to be that way. And, we're there supporting them. And it's exhausting, but it's very rewarding. And it's nice to be that support for somebody. Your doctors and your nurses come in and out, but we don't leave your bedside once we join you. So that's a difference for sure.
And do a lot of hospitals now, they allow for that support person, of a doula to be there?
Yeah,
that's good.
Absolutely.
I know, obviously, during COVID, it was crazy.
Yeah, I was going to say, that must have been, really hard.
Yeah, for a period of time, I think doulas weren't even allowed, so just phone support, and then you had
virtual
your partner, and then that was kind of it. So it was virtual, and then it opened back up, and it was very restricted. You needed to be vaccinated, or you had to be testing every 2 or 3 days, and that was hard as well to navigate because different hospitals had different protocols. So we were really kind of, what's Riverview doing? What's Monmouth doing? Just kind of bouncing back and forth and trying to keep up to date on all of that so we could be supporting our clients in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
So I do have kind of an interesting question. So when I think of a doula, I think of more of a holistic approach, and I think my sister and I are different in this way. She had 3 babies, no epidural, she had 1 home birth, and I'm give me the drugs immediately. I don't.
The epidural.
Yeah,
even though you didn't get the drugs immediately.
I know, it's crazy. But someone like me, is there a point in even working with someone like me where I'm
absolutely,
I don't want to feel any pain. I want the drugs. Get me started.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
And it's we support people where they want to be, right?
That's
and
awesome.
So it's absolutely just as important to support somebody who knows they want a medicated birth, because at that point the hospital staff will kind of say, okay, she's contained, she's not in pain, she's relaxed. We'll check in on her in 4 hours and see if anything has happened. But laying on your back for hours on end is not conducive to helping labor progress. So really, we play a huge role in like the physiology of birth and putting you in different positions based on where we know your last exam said that the baby was in your pelvis, because your pelvis moves. Yeah, so we will position you, move you around, changing positions often. Even if you're on an epidural, you can't get out of bed, but we can move you around in the bed, and we really do.
That's awesome.
I mean, also, my first client was a C-section, scheduled C-section, breech
And
baby.
you were still able to be there, support?
We were there before, we were there after. We couldn't be in the room during it, but we also were there supporting her. We were trying to figure out ways, you know, to get the baby to turn, but just we were there to give her the information, like, this is what's going to happen, this is how this could go, this is that, you know, so it still was super helpful, you know.
It feels like what you guys are doing, it kind of makes me think of like old times where women, the family members supported women, right? Imagine that, you know, where they were in the room together and you're sharing a more sensitive and empathetic side to giving birth, which is a huge deal, as opposed to like, you know, when you're in the hospital and the doctors and the nurses, they're just
And your partner, who's a
and
male.
it's no offense to any of them, but like you're a number, you know, like you're just another person having a baby, and you're not like looked at with that love, and so it's just that's so beautiful.
I love
hear
it.
that.
Yeah. And if you look at like there's like old sculptures or pictures or paintings of women giving birth, it's all usually with other women, you know,
Yes.
whole women holding women, and, you know,
So did you guys have doulas for your births?
for my first two.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
And did you?
I did, actually, another doula within the agency. It's my doula for my third. I didn't have it for my first two. I had two medicated births, and my third was unmedicated. It was always my goal to go unmedicated, and I just feel like had I had some support, especially for my first, because it was such a long labor. First babies take a long time most of the time. So I do think that it would have made a huge difference for me, but it was nice to have that for my third.
Yeah. And like for me, that's why I wanted to be a doula. My first baby, I didn't have partner support. It was my doulas saved me. Like, and I was able to have the birth that I wanted. It was incredible. I would not have been able to do it without them.
That's
like,
awesome.
Not at all. So yeah, it was amazing.
In hindsight, I wish I had a doula because I think, like you said, for your first baby, you don't know what you don't know, and I think also sometimes friends, you know, if they already had children, they forget about some of those nuances in the beginning that or during pregnancy that you're experiencing, and like round ligament pains. You know, I'm like sitting at my desk one day, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna get my birth here, and
Like, what is this?
right, like what is this? And I think you guys providing that support, and like I said, I had a different idea in my head of what doulas do, and now hearing this, I'm like, man, I'm gonna rewind and go back.
And it's so good to hear that a doula can support even if you were going to do a C-section or epidural, because that's good to know. It's not just for people who want a certain type of unmedicated birth.
But I think that people who opt for an epidural too, it comes to the point of like maternal exhaustion versus pain intolerance.
Yeah,
right? So if you've been laboring for a really long time, especially if you got to the hospital too early and maybe they augment your labor with like Pitocin, you know, that is a synthetic oxytocin.
So obviously, doula, now that I think about this, my first, I remember them pushing the Pitocin so quickly on me and me wanting to give pushback, but I didn't have anybody to speak up for me.
Yeah.
There you
so
go.
a doula would be that advocate, right?
Yeah, so we help our clients really advocate for themselves, and of course, if we have to kind of step in and suggest things to them, but I don't really like to speak for my clients. I think it's more well received from the medical staff if it's coming from them, but I will absolutely educate them even in the room if they're coming in and offering some interventions. I will say, hey, can we have like 5 minutes just to talk amongst ourselves? And I will say, you know, this is what you should ask. What are the pros? What are the cons? Can I wait another hour or two before they want to introduce this medication and see if my body continues to do what it's doing on its own? So having those options are really important because they're never going to walk in and say, well, we want to start Pitocin, but if you want, we'll wait a few hours. You know, they want to keep things moving.
Yes. And I feel like they want to explain it quickly and get out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So to have somebody
Or not
like,
explain.
Yeah.
Right. They're not coming and telling you
Yeah.
the risks right off the bat, right? They're like, this is what we do. This is the next step in
This
labor.
is protocol.
Right.
Yeah. But to have somebody there to be like, hey, let me explain what this would do or benefits or pros and cons. And then, like you said, then the woman giving birth gets to make the decision.
Exactly.
An informed decision.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have
Right.
to educate our clients always. And, you know, never create an environment where it's almost like combative, because that's not what we want. We want like a team environment you know, we're not medical staff, but we want to have a good relationship with your doctor, with your nurse, with anybody coming into the room, we want to feel like they're on our team and they want to work with us, not against us, and vice versa.
Have you found in your experiences going in that doctors and nurses are receptive, or do they kind of like have the wall up?
They're like, oh, they're gonna get in my way.
It really depends on the provider. I would say most of them are pretty receptive. I've definitely had, doctors say to my clients, like, what do you need a doula for? And, that feels not great knowing that you're walking into that situation, but I've never had somebody really be not nice to me.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny to think about my first. I thought it was such a terrible experience, but it really wasn't. It was my first. So it took a while. Yeah. But I was progressing normally. I was in really good shape, so it was an easy delivery. By the time I got to the hospital, I was 8 centimeters.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Cool, right?
That's incredible.
Yeah, 7, 8.
So you did amazing then.
But I was like, no, give me, like, I knew I wanted
were exhausted,
it. And my mom was like, are you sure? Like, just
You're so close.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, give it to me. But
But you labored most of it.
I mean, he came like 45 minutes later.
That's amazing.
But they gave me Pitocin, and I wasn't even like, whatever, give me anything at that point. I would have taken, like, I just wasn't thinking. But in hindsight, why are you giving me Pitocin?
Right, when you're so far along to go.
Obviously, your body was doing what it was supposed to be doing.
Exactly, yeah.
I don't even think I knew that.
Yeah, and with my second, it was hearing this, like, having a doula definitely would have been, that was just like a horrible experience altogether. But like, getting me in different positions probably would have been beneficial. But once they broke my water, she came, and then I'm like, well, why didn't you just do that in the beginning? Like,
Yeah, well, you're not thinking because you're not thinking, So like, to have that advocate to think clearly.
Think for you. What I am curious about the postpartum, with my first, I had like postpartum depression, anxiety, all that. So I'm curious how, I guess, do you guys sort of mention that to women? Like, I know a big part of this is they have this birth plan, and sometimes it doesn't always go how they want. And just having been immersed in that world, I know that a lot of women get postpartum depression because their birth didn't go the way, or at least there's a correlation. So is there anything?
And even support after, right?
Yeah.
And they don't have to go home.
Exactly.
Well, like, even, going back to my client that had the C-section, she had so much guilt, like, that she's like, do I do this? Should I do this? Nothing's working. It's my body failed, that sort of thing. So we have to watch out for that, and we do visit them afterwards. But you can talk more about postpartum doula.
Yeah. So within the agency, there are postpartum doulas that specifically work with new moms and help with their babies. But I think that postpartum visit that we as birth doulas do, we really try to kind of talk about their birth experience and how did you feel about it. And if we knew that things really did not go according to plan, and they really never do, right? Like start to finish, because birth is unpredictable. There are a lot of twists and turns, but knowing if someone had a lot of trauma surrounding something, really trying to like talk about it and let them know there's nothing you could have done different. I understand that you are grieving the loss of a vaginal birth if you had ended up in a cesarean, or you didn't want to be induced and then you were induced and every intervention came into play. I try to really talk about that and let them, normally it will tears will come and they will talk about it. Whereas to everybody else, it was great. It was fine. Healthy mom, healthy baby. But it's not always that. Yes, of course we want healthy mom, healthy baby, but you're allowed to feel that way. And I feel like postpartum blues and depression is not as taboo as it used to be. I'm really offering resources and offering a community of women, getting people in touch with the right doctors, providers, community of new moms, whatever it is, and really just kind of staying in touch with, especially, I try to stay in touch with all my clients, but especially the ones I know are really having a hard time, just to kind of let them know we're still here. Even if you had your baby, that doesn't mean that the relationship ends.
Yeah.
That's so important.
I think also that goes back to hiring us maybe earlier on, because then we get to know the moms early. We kind of get to know if there's any previous things going on, other births, if you had so we just have a better grasp on kind of what the situation is.
Right. That's cool. So I know you do obviously a massage. If you want to talk about that, something cool with my first, Holly kept talking about doing, I don't know, whatever, massage to kind of
points.
the pressure points to in like sort of, I don't know if induce labor, but sort of get things going. So I don't know if it was a coincidence or whatever, but she I was
did her
like
job.
begging her, like, do it, get this baby
How many
out.
weeks were you?
Well, she wouldn't do it until I was 39 weeks.
Awesome.
Like, you suck. But so she did it. It was a Sunday, and I went into labor that night.
Really?
I was having these like weird dream. Like I thought I was having dreams, and I thought that the cramping was just in my dream.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it's just cramping, whatever. And as the day, like I just like went on with my day. Like I went to dinner that night. I remember I went to Copper Canyon in Atlantic Highlands, and I was like that, like, oh my God, I was like, I think
You're like,
and I went to your house after, and I'm just like, all right, this is bad. Like,
Or good.
yeah, we're good, yeah, but
You're like out to dinner, 8 centimeters.
yeah, like what am I doing?
No big deal.
But I don't know. You want to talk about that a little?
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna go into labor when your body's ready, but yeah, there are things that we can do to kind of help things move along. A massage is amazing. It's amazing throughout your pregnancy. It has so many benefits, but at the end, sort of just getting your mind and body relaxed is even a huge part of it. And yeah, we can do the pressure points. There's certain things with the sacrum too that we can work on, which really benefits. A lot of women have like pubic synthesis disorder. It's pretty common in pregnancy. We really help with that.
what's that?
So the space, there's basically it opens in the pelvis, and the hips are not stable at that point. So there's just a lot of like ligament pain and
I remember.
muscular.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I'm-
pretty.
I-
It's
I'm
pretty
being so
typical. Yeah.
uncomfortable at the end.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
uncomfortable.
so we can help a lot with that. And just even like at the end, the touch, the comforting touch is huge and raises, the oxytocin, which is what we need.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love it. I love like at the end when the babies are rolling around and you're watching them, as you're doing them. So I just love everything about it.
And obviously, getting a massage and getting a prenatal massage totally different. Like it's important if you're pregnant to go to a person who knows how to do a prenatal, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to make sure that they're trained in prenatal specifically.
Yeah.
I got a couple prenatal massages, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Just
Have
to,
it.
like,
Yeah.
So
just,
amazing.
like the touch, just to be touched,
Yeah.
and like rub.
Do you offer massages after birth?
Yep.
Because I feel like that's when I could really also use it.
100%.
The trauma of all that.
Almost immediately, I'd
I
say
love that.
it's really
Which hospitals offer that?
Sitting in the hospital
some
bed.
do,
That's
actually.
That's what? I love that.
I got a massage the day after in Morristown.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. No, it's great. And actually, I am also. I just did a new training in postpartum because again, like there are certain typical issues that a lot of women have afterwards, and we can help with that. But yeah, you just went through trauma. Your body,
Yeah.
You're stressed out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
What is like do you have to get certified for that, or and even too like for both of you to be a doula? Do you get certified? What's kind of the process?
Yeah. Well, as a massage therapist,
Yeah.
I'm licensed.
Yep.
And then I take advanced training to
Got
be
it.
certified in prenatal, postpartum. There's probably hundreds of
Like
different
endless.
courses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I'm constantly kind of taking new.
That's awesome.
Because there's new things that come.
Techniques,
Yeah. Information.
That's
and
awesome.
You also just want to refresh, right, what you've learned. And with a doula too, you get certified. There's how many different?
A lot. A lot of different agencies that you can go through, but it's a training, a certification process, and then it's not really required to keep up, but we try to keep up with continuing education.
Right.
There's something called
Various
Spinning
courses.
Babies, which is a really great resource for different positions and all of that. So we try to keep up to date on that.
So, as a doula, I guess who's in training, do you shadow other doulas? Like, is that where a lot of your learning came?
Everyone does it differently.
Yeah,
right?
it's unfortunate. I think after COVID, especially, that's not really an option anymore.
Yeah.
Because you're limited to the amount of people you can have.
Right?
So the training really does prepare you, but you kind of, some will find clients that they'll give a discounted rate to. I'm a new doula. I need, you have to have like three births that you attend to be certified. So I will offer this for free or for a discounted rate so that I can get my certification. So everybody kind of works it a little bit differently.
But like with us, like working with an agency or, you learn from each other.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's awesome.
And
Yeah,
can-
we're
they
always, like,
continue to learn
bouncing.
from
I
each
love
other.
that.
Yeah,
It's like our real estate team.
Yeah.
So is
Yeah.
there a doula certification like in the U.S.? Like who, like I guess, like doulas are like overseen by something or?
Yeah, I went through Dona.
Dona, yeah. That's
Okay.
I would say that's the most popular
Pro
one.
doula, I think, is a big one.
Are they like national or are they global or?
It's
international,
It's
yeah.
international, yeah.
That's pretty cool because obviously people use doulas in different countries, right?
And
Of
they're
course.
Yeah,
and it's actually way more prevalent in a lot of other
I'm
countries.
sure.
yeah.
You know,
Anything that's good for you is way more prevalent.
Yeah.
in
I
other
mean, like
countries.
midwives, you know, like I know, like in the UK, it's like it would be odd if you use a doctor to
And
give
not a
birth.
midwife.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, it's only like high risk.
Really?
Yeah.
So my mom, when she had me, she used a midwife, and I always thought that was so bizarre.
advanced for her time. Yeah.
but that was
Yeah.
the thought process. Like, why wouldn't you have a
Why wouldn't-
doctor?
yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
But
sure.
as an adult now, looking back,
Yeah.
Right.
that makes a lot of sense.
And there are a couple of practices in New Jersey that are just midwives, and then there are a lot of OB practices that also have midwives on staff. So it's kind of that
Yeah, they're like pivoting,
balance.
right?
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
a nice balance for people who want maybe a more holistic approach, but they know they want to give birth in a hospital and they want to have access to a midwife.
Right.
So in the event of an emergency, they're on site. So a lot of our clients will say like, I've thought about a birth center, I thought about a home birth, but it just makes me too nervous.
Yeah.
So finding like a midwife group or a group that has midwives as a part of it is a nice like kind of
That's
happy
cool.
medium.
I like that.
Yeah.
So you do personal training, and I will say, like, looking at my 2 births and pregnancies in general, I was, like I mentioned, in great shape with my son, not so much with my daughter, and it made, I think, a huge difference. I mean, like, do you work with pregnant women a lot?
Yeah. I love working with doing prenatal fitness, and you're so right. And it's funny too that you say that because your first baby, you were,
Right.
you know, maybe more physically active.
Yeah.
So usually the first is a bit, you know, harder, but it was kind of the opposite with you, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I was doing CrossFit until I was like 5 months pregnant.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd necessarily recommend that, but no, but
But
you were
working out's
doing,
good.
but she was doing CrossFit previously, so
Yeah,
you know, usually
right.
you would continue to do what you were already doing, as long as it feels good and it's
And it's
comfortable
scaled
and
back.
scaled back, sure. But there are actually, you know, a lot of things I teach my clients specifically for labor prep. You know, I mean, even specific movements to open up the different parts of the pelvis, like when you get closer.
Yeah.
You know, not just squats, like actually rotating. You know, internal, external rotation. There's a lot of things you could do. I have one client. I'm like so excited. I can't wait for her to give birth because she's just she's been very healthy. She's really, you know, into like working out and doing the correct things. And I just can't wait to see how it goes, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
I feel like I wish more emphasis was made on that too, like how to be fit during pregnancy, you know, to help your body recover. I feel like
Right.
even doctors don't mention it. Like, hey, are you working out? Or are you stretching?
Right.
Or
And
like,
it doesn't mean you have to be lifting weights.
No, yeah.
Right.
you're getting your body ready.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it's labor.
Yes.
You know, you're getting ready for like a marathon.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know? So you need endurance. It's the whole package.
Yeah, staying active, even if like you're not heavy lifting or whatever it might be, whatever you are comfortable doing, and while you're listening to your body. You know, if you went out for a run and you're feeling uncomfortable, then you're listening to your body and you're going to scale that back. But really,
Right.
just staying active one way or another is going to be so beneficial in labor and definitely for recovery as well.
Yeah, definitely. I remember you saying postpartum, what is it, 14 weeks you're not supposed to run?
I recommend 16 weeks of
Okay.
like high impact.
And and people think, oh, it's
6 weeks,
cleared, and now
right?
they
They
clear
just
you
say
after
6
like
weeks.
4 weeks. It's crazy. So I mean, forget it. People are peeing their pants left and right.
Well, no, it's so true, and I can say from experience. After my first, I went out 6 weeks, started running again, and
like you were excited to get back. Yeah.
yeah, and I was like,
she wears
I feel,
diapers.
I don't know, I wear a diaper, no, but you know, it's like I'm still kind of dealing with the effects of
Yeah.
that.
Like you should have waited. Like if
100% should have waited.
yeah, like think
yeah.
6 weeks. Like
I know. Like
you're
body
probably
is still
still
healing.
bleeding. Like it's
know.
crazy,
You're
right?
still healing
And
for a long time.
again, things people don't talk about.
like take
Right.
it slow. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, or like, you know, and seeing like a pelvic floor therapist
Yeah. Oh my
afterwards. I feel like everyone should after,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I never heard, like, my OB never mentioned anything about pelvic floor. Not a thing. And, like, it wasn't until other people mentioned it, I was like, okay, like, let me, like, look into this at least. But it's just crazy the lack of information that especially new moms are getting from their doctors, you know, that it's wild.
They still don't really mention it. I mean, I have lots of clients, and we recommend going, if you can, before too, because it gives a nice baseline of where your body is before you deliver. And I've heard clients, you know, even some midwives and doctors saying, you know, you don't need to do that right now. There's no reason that they're recommending that. And it's fine. It's not for everybody, but it's not going to hurt you. It's only going to help you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's it too. I think all of my clients, I usually will give a list of questions to ask, because that's the big thing too, that you don't even know what to ask, right? And then they're like, oh, I didn't think about that, because why would you?
Yeah, because there's so many other things in your mind. I'm about to have a baby, my life's about to change. So you're not thinking about your body or yourself when you should be.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally. And so, Kelly, you do postpartum meal prepping?
Yeah,
Tell me a little bit about
I do. So it's all plant-based. For a long time before I became a doula, I worked in the restaurant industry. I worked specifically for Seed to Sprout, which is like a local vegan organic restaurant. I managed there for a long time.
Wow.
Such good food.
So good.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it was kind of always my thought process. During COVID, we created like a meal delivery service because the restaurants weren't open. And we were, you know, very much of the mindset people still need access to good food. So I wanted to create a meal delivery within that for postpartum. And then I just kind of decided, like, why don't I take my doula training as well? Because I've always had a fascination with birth work. I've had children of my own, and I see the huge disconnect with everybody pampers the moms, like, for 9-10 months, right? You're fed well, everybody's opening car doors, and don't do this, it's too much. And all of a sudden you have this baby, and of course the focus is on the new baby, but the new mom is, like, kind of left in the dust a little bit. And so, you know, you find yourself, like, eating scraps, or like, do I make a meal for myself, or do I sleep while the baby sleeps? Like, you know, those first weeks in postpartum are survival, 100%. So really having access to easy, nutritious, healing meals is a very important thing to me. So yes, I created this meal delivery service.
It's delicious.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I do a variety of, you know, anywhere from like lactation bites for moms who are breastfeeding, like lots of warming soups, healing meals, that sort of thing.
I feel like this would be a great gift to give a new mom.
Yes, absolutely.
That would be.
Yeah.
That's such a good, I didn't even
Even
think
like
that's
a gift card to that, right?
Yeah, and we do, within the agency, they have an option for gift cards, and I have had clients, you know, come to me with gift cards and say, you know, my sister purchased this for me, and it's so nice to be able to just, here, you just warm this up, and it's so readily available.
Don't have to think about, you know, the bites. You just like grab it as you're nursing or whatever, you know.
Take a meal and massage.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Right?
From the source. Yeah.
From the source.
I love that.
That is really cool.
Thank you.
I mean, there's certain cultures that believe in that too, right? Like after birth for 40 days, you're supposed to eat.
40 days. Yeah, that's a great book. You know, just kind of the history behind it and some recipes in there. So a lot of that has, like, you know, meat and all, and that's totally fine. It's not my forte, but I try to kind of veganize those types of things.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's really cool. So in terms of, obviously insurance doesn't cover doula services, I imagine, right?
So some are starting.
Oh, that's awesome.
Really? That's so cool.
Some are starting to. It's very, I think, kind of early stages.
I love that.
So a lot of doulas aren't taking it currently. There are some that are.
Do you feel like changes will come as some start? Do you feel like
Have to.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I really hope so, because, you know, it's not something that everybody can afford.
Right.
It can be an expensive service, and it should be really covered by insurance, because I think it's such a necessary thing. There are some hospitals in New Jersey that have staff doulas.
That's awesome.
One of our doulas that we work with, she is also a staff doula in North Jersey, and I just think that's such an incredible thing for, you know, she's Spanish speaking, so a lot of like the Spanish speaking community don't even know that this is a resource that they have available to them, so it's offered through the hospital. So really, I think that everybody, no matter what your situation is, should be given the opportunity to have doula support.
I agree, because I feel like the biggest hurdle to get a doula in my mind was, it's going to be really expensive. Do I need it?
Yeah.
But I didn't know like the benefits, and I wish people would talk about the benefits. And
Yeah, and it's so funny because it's always the dads that will come to us after and say, I was a doula doubter and I didn't want to spend the money, and now I can't imagine that we would have gotten through it without the support, because it's such a load off of their shoulders.
Yeah.
Right? They are
Helpless,
the source of support, and it's very, very stressful for them. So to have somebody else who's kind of like supporting them as well as their partner in labor, we join and we're like, have you had anything to eat? Go grab some food, grab a coffee, get some fresh air, whatever it is. And they're just kind of like breathing a sigh of relief. Like, okay, it's not just me now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet. That's really cool.
So I guess, how did you both get your calling for doula? Was it like
Well, yeah, like I said, with my first pregnancy, I hired my doulas probably 20 weeks. I was maybe a little bit less, but I immediately clicked with them. And then, I was actually going through a divorce during my pregnancy, and so it was super traumatic. And they were just like everything. They were everything, and they kind of held my hand the whole time, and they would come and they would like take me out to lunch.
Thank God you even knew to call a doula. Like that's
What?
that. Thank God you even knew to call one.
Well, I knew I wanted one anyway, but then it's like, oh wow, I had no idea I'd need you this much, and then just like during labor, she just got to know me so well that like she knew how much I wanted an unmedicated birth. But there came a point where I was like, it was the exhaust, right? Never asked for it. But I know if someone offered it to me, I don't know if I could have said no, right? And she was like, I just remember being like, I can't do it. She's like, you're doing it. Like, you're doing it. You are doing it, and just like holding my hands and rubbing my back and just knowing like they had me, you know? It was like, beautiful. I know, I could cry.
You're being nurtured. Yeah.
Yes, right. And I felt like loved and supported, and, and I was like, I am doing this one day, and I just kind of needed to wait until I felt comfortable, like with how old my kids were. And
that's awesome, and that's so cool that you got to fulfill that. Like you
I know.
are paying it back, right? Like you're so grateful what she gave you, and now you're paying it back with other new moms.
Yeah. And I love too, like the levels of support. I think with different clients is it varies. It's really incredible. Like you do have some people who need a lot of support for past trauma, whatever, and then there's moms who like, it's my 5th baby and I just like, needed extra hands.
Yeah.
So it's cool. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
I love that you guys say unmedicated instead of natural.
Cool, because it's all natural.
Yeah,
exactly.
I hate when people
True,
I'm
right?
like, because I got an epidural, wasn't it? What
Exactly.
are you talking about?
I'm not a robot.
Yeah. Shut your mouth.
When you were just talking about your labor experience, I could cry thinking about it because my daughter, it was totally unplanned. I ended up having her unmedicated because she was coming so fast.
Oh, wow.
And they tried the epidural and it didn't work, and they were trying to get an anesthesiologist to fix it. And my poor husband was just sitting there, and he said I was chanting and crying. Like I'm like kind of like out of body experience. But I wish I had somebody there. So like hold my hand and like coach me through it because he did not know what to do. The nurses, I don't think knew what to do.
And it was all happening so fast.
Yeah.
It does become primal, right? Like you're making noises that you've never heard
He was
come
like,
out of
you were
yourself.
chanting. I was like,
I actually love that, though. That's really kind of amazing.
crazy, right?
It's not crazy, though. It's just like you go to this other place. It's what you like need to do, you know? Yeah. And that was, we actually just did a grief trauma training. And that's something she talked about when the epidural doesn't work. And I can't imagine, you're like, all right, now the pain's going to be gone. And then it doesn't. And you're like, that's another,
Yeah, I felt like they left me because they were scrambling to find the other anesthesiologist. And then this like hour and a half time frame, I literally went from, I guess, like 2 or 3 to like 9.
Whoa.
And by the time the anesthesiologist came, thankfully, like I was like, oh my God, I feel like I have to push. And she was out in 3 pushes.
Wow.
So thankfully that all went well, but it wasn't the plan.
right.
It wasn't my plan. So it would have been nice to have somebody there to guide me through it. Yeah.
Definitely.
But you were a champ, clearly.
Yeah.
I survived.
You did, right? You survived.
Yes.
Oh my God. I do have to say that I love that we have 5 moms in this room with a total of 11 children.
Oh my
between
God.
us, and we all made it. I was like, oh my God, one of these kids are definitely going to get sick.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh. Please
have
knock
little
on
ones.
wood.
Yeah. You guys have,
my God,
you
that's
guys have
so
little
funny.
ones, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, what did you say? Your nephew like spit up on you or something?
Oh yeah, I was with my nephew before, and he wiped his arm on my sleeve.
I'm like, I can't find my keys. What is happening?
We are literally always late when we come
Yeah.
here. It's okay.
But we're moms, so we get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're on mom time.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Time.
We make it.
Yeah.
So I think we give ourselves credit for that. you
Is
know?
it hard, I guess, being moms of young kids and being a doula? You're on call, so has that been a challenge?
I would say that's one of the biggest challenges for sure.
Right.
It's important to have a good support system at home.
Yeah.
And just kind of community around you. You know, yesterday I called Holly for a quick like help with my daughter because I had an interview that I had to take and I didn't want to reschedule it. So really, like, you kind of have to be on your toes, but you also have to have people in place.
And now, in your team, how cool you guys have each other.
Yeah,
Like
and
you're-
we're neighbors.
yeah.
Like, it's very convenient, but
nice,
it's
convenient.
nice to have constant support, whether
Yeah.
it's friends, family, whatever it might be, kind of pulling together for you because they know that you're on call, so they're kind of on call for you.
Yeah.
So that's definitely hard. And having I have 3 young children, 2, 5, and 8. So, you know, my youngest one is home a lot of the time. My other 2 are in school. So, you know, there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah. And I obviously never know when your client's going to go into labor, so
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah. So it's, you know, we are big on communication with our clients too,
Right.
because the worst thing that could happen is for someone to say, "I've been having contractions for 6 hours. I'm at
Right.
the hospital," and you're like, "Wow,
Thanks
I'm
for
Didn't know.
not even kind of ready for that."
Right.
So you
Yeah.
know, it's happened, and we make it work. But it's, you know, we try to stay in constant communication with them for that specific reason. And also, we don't want to surprise them. We don't want them to be surprised. We want to help navigate. Like I
Right.
said, you know. We want to be there. That's why you hired us.
Right.
Let us help
For
you
those
through
6
this.
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should be there.
So do you find that patients are finding doulas through word of mouth, or have their midwives recommended? Like, what's
Word of mouth is huge.
yeah,
right?
Definitely huge. Some practices will recommend it, and some that aren't, you know, so doula happy won't. But you know,
Right.
there's a midwife group in Avon, and they recommend our agency a
That's
lot.
awesome.
There are some OB practices that really love working with us, so I would say word of mouth definitely. Like we talked about, a lot of people never even heard of what doulas are, but now
Right.
it's becoming more mainstream.
yes.
Very
Yeah.
cool. So where could people find you guys? If they, you know, social media or
Yeah, we're on social media. My Instagram is Source Doula. That's, you know, I have all of my birth information and food and all of that. And then the agency we work for is Oh Mama's Doulas, so they have a website too that you can do meal ordering off of there and find out more information about hiring a doula.
That's
that sort of
awesome.
thing.
cool.
Yeah.
And I have NJ Fit Mamas
Cool.
on Instagram.
Perfect.
Find me there.
So we'll tag everything too. So
Awesome.
And I guess for doula plans, one more question. Are there different plans? Like, I guess, can you get a full spectrum of I want your support throughout my whole pregnancy and after, or I just want support at the end, or support after pregnancy? Like, are there different?
Different
Packages.
different agencies and different doulas do
Yeah.
various things.
Like
Yeah.
customize.
Right. Yeah. You can. Yeah.
Yeah, specifically, I am a birth doula and a postpartum doula, but I primarily do birth work because I'm on call all the time. I don't really take postpartum clients, but there are, within our agency, there are birth doulas and postpartum doulas.
That's
so
awesome.
if you were my birth client, I would work with you throughout the duration of your pregnancy, labor, delivery, and then if you needed support afterward, we would then refer to one of our postpartum doulas. And most people hire for like overnight support so that they can get some sleep.
yeah.
That sounds
Have
like
eyes on the
heaven.
baby.
That's so good to know you guys offer that.
Yes. Sometimes people will ask for day support, but it's primarily night because moms and dads want to catch up on some sleep, and they
Yeah.
feel like having eyes on their baby while they sleep
Yeah.
makes them feel.
And
more at
obviously,
ease.
we're in New Jersey. You guys cover Monmouth County. Do you go anywhere else, or just for you? Is it Monmouth County?
We kind of travel throughout
Yeah.
different counties,
Yeah.
anywhere from South Jersey to up to like Morristown area.
Okay, so you've gone like an hour
yeah,
each of
yeah,
the
we will
direction.
travel.
Yeah.
Definitely.
that's awesome.
And your main partner she's based in North Jersey.
Yes.
So.
That's awesome.
Yes, she's the Morristown staff doula that I spoke about. So
Yeah.
she and I will travel and get where we need to go for our clients.
That's cool.
I love your
Yeah.
message and what you guys do, and I just hope it keeps growing, and I hope more people have access to it. Like,
We do too.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No, like the work you ladies are doing is extraordinary. It almost makes you want to have another kid. And I'm not.
We're here for
Okay.
you if you end up deciding that you won't.
Wild.
Thank you.
Thanks for
guys.
having us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for
This was
coming
great.
on. We appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you guys.
Make sure to like and subscribe to Mom Boss Chronicles, and if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out. Thank you for listening.